Hi everyone. Happy Saturday. Good morning. We're just a couple of minutes early, but I wanted to go ahead and get on and so that I could get my laptop working or my iPad working and make sure that everybody's on. How's everybody this morning? It is gorgeous here in Texas. We had some storms last night, but nothing major, and a little bit of rain, but it's beautiful, sunshiny. The birds are out, the squirrels are out, and we painters are out. So here we are. I hope you've got a great weekend planned and a Memorial Day holiday activities planned. Let's see if I can get us pulled up over here. Say hello when you come on. This is day 3, tutorial number 3 of our Penny's Lane workshop. And this is where we are so far. So still got a little ways to go, but we're going to get right to it. Here at noon is when we were supposed to start. It is noon my time right now. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And what I did, last night I gave you some homework. We finished the wagon part. And I gave you some homework to finish your flowers. The little hearts on the flowers. I base coated mine with white. But they're so little you really didn't have to. And then I just went over them with the red. And then on the bottom of them, the little V of the heart, I base coated those, shaded those in the burnt umber. Excuse me. And then I just put a little white highlight on each flower. And remember, mine's backwards. But I just put a little highlight on the same side of each flower. And don't forget the little flower that comes up over the wheel. If you didn't do that, you'll need to go back and do that afterwards. So we're going to do the little bear, and we're going to do the greenery and the road here in a minute. We did not put lettering on the sign because I left that because I didn't know what you would want to put. You could put, mine says Grammy's house, half a mile. You could also put, I may put Friendship Lane or something like that on it so that it's not specific to like Nana or Grammy. So if I put it in the craft show, if I put Friendship Lane, that's going to be very generic and anybody could use that. So be mindful of that when you decide what you want to put on here. If it's for you or a gift, then you know what you're going to put on. Oh, froggy throat. Anyway, so that's why we left that, but we did get the sign finished as far as the sign itself, the board. So today we're going to start on Mr. Bear. So you're going to need your sable brown. Hi, Margarita. Hello, hello. All right, so we're going to get right to it. I'm going to bring you down. Let's see. Yes, I got everything over there. Okay, so this one may take you out of your comfort zone because it does have a few details on it. I even thought it would be cute to put some cute buttons at each corner of the frame, some big old buttons down here, and paint those. I also thought it would be cute to use your Dippin' Dotty, those of you that have the Dippin' Dotties, and put some little flowers on here. I've got little wooden hearts. That would be cute also. I could put some little wooden hearts on it. So I may add some things to it after we finish, but I'll post a picture of what I end up doing. So, okay, so I'm going to go with sable brown. And that's going to be the bear body. Now, if you want your bear to be a little darker, you could go with milk chocolate or something like that. I'm going to start out with my small angle brush. It's 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to dip right into that sable brown. And we're going to start up here on the head. And we're just going to make sure that we cover those graphite lines. And it'll take a couple of coats to do that. And then also when we shade it, it will cover that up also. Okay, so I'm just going right up into that ear, right over into it. If you need to, after we do this, you could lay your traced pattern back over it and redraw the ear lines if you need to. Okay, and go around his snout. We're not going, his muzzle, I think is what it's actually called, but that's going to be a different color. So just right down in that. And you could also use a small flat or a little round brush. The smaller your brush, the more brush marks you'll see. So I try to go with as large a brush as I can. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other little ear. And notice how I'm just twirling it, the brush in my fingers. I'm using my little finger to kind of steady me. I'm just twirling it around. Okay, let's go ahead and dry that before we do the other sections. Well, we could go ahead and do the belly. Let's do the belly, the body. Now we're going to do a little shade mark over that mark that's there, but you can tell where the tummy comes out. He's kind of got a chest area, and then his tummy's kind of like mine. He sits down and it just pooches out. He's been eating too much honey. So we'll go right around that foot. Right up against the wagon. And under that muzzle. So let me show you where I am so far. And if you didn't get your little heart flowers finished, don't worry about it. We can come back and do those. Okay, so right under that muzzle or his little snout. Okay, let's draw that. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. Hi, Rosemary. Hi, Sherry, Michelle. It is a cute pattern. This is not my design. This is designed by Mary Darrow. She is deceased, but she left behind a legacy of patterns and just the cutest little things to paint. I have a feeling we will be doing some more of her. I know definitely one that we will be doing. Just not sure yet what we're going to do it on. Okay, so we're just putting a second coat of this sable brown. Now, if you don't have sable brown, just use the closest thing that you can to it that's a bare color. You could use a lighter, like milk chocolate, but a little bit lighter than that. Just trying to think of some other colors if you don't have that. I don't know that they make it anymore. I really don't know. They may. Okay, so I'm going to go right up over this head and get over that graphite line, my pattern line. You just want to base it with a color that's light enough that that burnt umber that we're going to shade with will show. Okay, do the other ear. I know lots of you have activities going on today and probably tomorrow and Monday. So I apologize. I did not realize that this was a holiday weekend that I scheduled this. We have been so incredibly busy the last couple of months that my days have all been running together. And I had to really stay on top of myself to remind me of which day was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for this. Because again, they all kind of run together. Now, if you find your paint, your brush is not flowing across, just add a little bitty tiny drop of water, and that was too much, so I'll wipe my brush off. But I've got a little bit of water on it, and I'm just going to smooth it out. Okay, let's put another coat on that belly, on his body. Now we're going to put the same color on his arms and his feet, but it's so much easier to tell where you're supposed to shade and where you're not if you just do a few sections at a time. Okay, so I'm not even going to dry it, and I'm going to go in with my little bit larger angle brush, but you could also do this with a flat brush. But I'm going in with the burnt umber and go ahead and we'll shade this out. Just a little dab. I've got just a little new spot right there. This is the palette we were using last night. Okay, so I'm going to get the area just a little bit damp. You just want it, you don't want a lot of water on it. You just want it shiny enough that you can tell there's some water. Now on the ear, we're going to go right around the front part of that ear, putting the head in front of it. Okay, so I've got my brush a little bit wet. I'm going to dip just down in on the toe of that angle brush. An angle brush has a low part and a high part. The tall part is called the toe, and the short part is called the heel. So when you hear somebody with an angle brush going, stand it up on its toe or spread it out on the heel, you know what it's talking about now. Still got a little bit too much water, so I just kind of laid it on my paper towel. Okay, and what I mean by going just right in front of that ear, see if I can get it where it's not shiny. Just right in front of the ear, so that ear looks like it's behind the head. Okay, so I'm going to dip back into my paint. And I'm dipping in the paint. Sometimes I just go straight to the project and put it on, but I'm just kind of blending it a little bit, and I've got too much water in there, and paint was going all the way across the paintbrush, and you don't want that. There we go. And I may come back and make it just a little bit darker once it dries. Okay, so I'm going to start down here and go up to the ear, because this ear is kind of in the front. So let's start right here and go down. All the way to the snout, or the muzzle. And then I'm going to come back up here and darken this a little bit. Okay, and that's all we've got right now is the outline of his head. Hi, Sybil. Thank you, Janet. I got this at Walmart years ago. And I got some butterfly. They have these right now at Walmart. The butterfly red, white, and blue flag patriotic earrings. They had several. I think $5 a pair. $7 a pair maybe is what they were. Hi, Rosemary. All right, y'all. I may miss some of your comments because I'm going to try to stick with it today and try to get this done. So I'm going to go a little bit darker. Okay, and I want to go around the snout. Now he'll have a little nose too, but I'm just going to go ahead and go around. I need just a little more paint in my brush, so I'm adding a little more. I come back over here in that same spot, kind of blend it out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to dry that. I'm going to add just a little bit more, and then we're going to do the outside of his ears too. Okay. So I added a little more water, and then I'm dotting it off, patting it off on my paper towel. Coming back and just kind of blending that in. And we're going to do the outside of the ears. And notice I'm just twirling it around. Now I will say it is a little bit harder, just a little bit of a challenge painting down, because this is inset. Your frame is around it. That's how it came. It's all one piece. So but it also helps to have something to kind of lay your arm on. But it is a different feel, a little bit different. But I want you to get comfortable painting on anything, not just a round shaped blank. And I paint on plenty of those, but I want you to train yourself to try painting on anything, any surface, any shape, and you will amaze yourself at what all you can do. Now this ear, if you'll notice on your pattern, grab it over here. This ear comes down into his head, the one that's away from the sign. Let me turn this around. This tracing paper, you can probably see through that. So that's what yours is going to look like. You're painting it. I just turned it around backwards since we can't do it. So that's what it will look like. It's going to come down into the face, into the head. And I've got my finger up here, and I'm just going to twirl it around. And come all the way down into that face a little bit. Just touching up a couple of spots that needed to be darker. And then we're going to do the body. So I'm just going to get it a little wet. Going to come right inside that arm, down to the wagon. I'm going to cross the bottom of the next to the wagon. And again, you can come back and add more if you want it a little darker. It's typically best to wait and let it dry. And then come back. Okay, I'm going to go down on the other side. Now remember, the belly comes up. It has a little wrinkle. So you're going to come up into the body and get a little more water on paint on the brush. And the more you shade, the more you do it, you'll realize when you've got too much water or need more. Okay, so I'm stopping right there, and then I'm coming down by the foot, going up, and making him a little poochy belly. Okay, now I want to go around that foot, around the outside of the foot. Okay, and then we want to go underneath the chin, underneath his little muzzle. So I need to reload. And these others are dry enough now that I'm not wiping them off where I just did it. Okay, and I'm going to go back around his muzzle and get it a little darker. Have it coming a little further out. Okay, now it's easy to see where the arms are going to go. How to paint the arms, and now you can see where the lines are defined. So I'm going to put that brush aside a minute and go back to my smaller little angle. And I'm going back into that sable brown. Start up here with the arm. And I'll use a different, we'll use a different color for the inside of the ears and the muzzle. Now there are some tight spots up here under his head and in between the arm and the belly. If you're not comfortable using a bigger brush and getting up in there, then just get like a little round brush or a liner brush and fill it in just in those tight spots that way. Okay, I'm going to turn him around a little bit. Twirling it around. See how I'm twirling that brush? Kind of letting it do the work for me. All right, now let's see if I can get it with this brush on this other little arm. I may have to switch down to a round. I'm using just the very tip, the toe part of that angle. Now I'm a directional painter. I do turn turn it a lot. To get it in my comfort zone, my physical comfort zone where my hand works best. Okay, so we got there. I'm going to come over, let's dry it right quick, and we'll do a second coat. Okay. And I don't know if you just heard my stomach growl, but it's telling me you did not eat breakfast. So I'll have, when we get off here, I'll have a brunch. I'll have breakfast and lunch mixed, combined. Okay, and I've just barely got some paint on the tip, on the toe of this. Okay, and then we need to do the foot. So the easiest way to do the foot would be to just paint the whole foot and then come back with the other color and fit it in. But your pattern has the sections on there, so I'm going to show you. You can just take a round brush. I've just got a round, pretty much any size that's just small enough to fit in there. And we'll just go right around. And then we'll come back and do a little bit of shading. Right up next to where that belly is, that body is that we just shaded. And again, you can always go back and retouch or touch up a little bit on your shading. If you got too far over or not far enough, you can always come back and touch it up. Now you could even make your bear, I mean, you could make it a fluffy white bear. You don't always have to stick to the pattern. If you have something different in mind, you could even put a little leopard print on him. Okay, so there's our foot. Put one more little coat down here. Okay, now let's shade those little sections right quick. I'm going to go back to my 1/4 inch. I started to say triangle. Angle brush. So I just got that a little bit wet. We're going to go right inside the outside part of that arm. And I will tell you, when I know I already told you this, but for years when I was painting, I just could not figure the angle brush out. And I just avoided it all the time. And then I finally told myself, this is ridiculous. Sit down and practice it every night, every time you sit down to paint. And now it's one of my favorite brushes. It's great for curves and getting into corners. Okay, so we've got that arm done. Now we need to come over and do the other one. And the foot goes over this little hand, so we just do the outside right under the snout. Add a little bit to that one. And then we need to go up and around a little foot. So I'm just getting a little bit of water on it. And you can see each time, and again, on larger projects, a lot of times I just put the paint on the brush and then go directly to the palette, or to the project. But on smaller ones, I tend to kind of blend it out a little bit on the palette first. Okay, so I want it to go right up against that hand. Okay, and we want to do the inside also, the inside of the little foot pad, I guess you would call it, on the outside. So let's dry what we just did so we're not wiping it off. And we're going to go on the outside of that little inset, the little foot pad. And once we go in here and paint that, the other color, you might want to come back in if you get over too far over and add your color back. Okay, so we've got all of that shaded. Now your pattern calls for toffee. I was out of toffee, so I chose fawn, but any color, any light tan color that's going to be lighter than your sable brown or whatever brown you're using for his muzzle and his foot and the inside of his ears will be fine. So I chose fawn. I didn't have any sable. I went to Michael's and Hobby Lobby. Not sable, toffee. And neither one of them had that color. Now, I know I could have ordered it, but I just didn't want to buy any more paint. So I'm going to go with fawn. Khaki tan might work for you depending on what color you're using. It's not going to take much, but this is Deco Art Fawn. Pebble, you might could use Pebble. Okay, and I'm going to use my round brush. I'm going to go with a little bit larger round. This one is a number 4, Grabby number 4 round. Dip it in the water and get it damp and then blot it off on my towel or my washcloth. I always have a wet cloth over here beside me when I'm painting. It's just damp. I've wrung most of the water out of it, but it's damp, and sometimes I will use that to lay my brush on to get some of the paint off. Okay, so let's do the little inset, the little foot pad. Hi, Heather. My comments are really delayed over here on the iPad. So I'm having to kind of look upside down, stand on my head to see your comments on the phone. Now, a lot of people hold their brushes up here when they're painting, like about midway or so. Some hold them even higher. I hold mine kind of like a pen or a pencil. So you just have to practice and see what works best for you. Okay, let's let that dry. And we'll do his little ears here in just a second also. He's so cute. How can you go wrong with a teddy bear? But you know, they're not that friendly. Now, of course, the little ones are sweet. So his little snout is almost in the shape of a heart. Pretty much is a heart. So be thinking of some sayings. What would you put on your sign? The one I'm keeping for myself says Grammy's house, half a mile, half mile. And, but if you're going to be selling it in a craft show or selling it online or something, you don't necessarily want it to be that precise with a name on it. So I thought about Friendship Lane, Hearts 5 cents. What would you put on it, generic wise? You could put Aunt Sue's house, half a mile. Grandma's house. There's just so many different things you could put. But generic wise, what would you put? I'm thinking about on this one because I will sell it. Friendship Lane. Not positive yet. Okay, so we're going to do the little inside of his ears. And you're just going to make a kind of a half oval or a half circle. Just curve it around the head. Okay, and I did switch to a little bit smaller round. Okay, and this one we will. Now you've got the placement of these on your handout. On your pattern. I don't like that. I don't like where that went, where that ended up. So me turn it this way. It just didn't look right. It was facing wrong. Let's see if that looks better. No, I don't like that either. I want it kind of coming down. Anyway, you've got your pattern, and you can use your pattern. There we go. I want it to kind of face into the snout. There we go. Okay, I'm going to make this one just a little bit bigger. Just to kind of even them out. So on the flowers, we had, the ladies had homework last night to do the flowers. We did the big heart in the same colors and same shading, so they knew what to use on the hearts. So we got those done as homework to kind of save us some time today. Now, if you get a little bit of that color on where you shaded, you can just shade back over it. Okay, and let's put another coat on his little muzzle. And when I get up towards the line, or the edge, I flatten my brush out a little bit and go really slow to give me a nice crisp edge. If you let that paint sit very long in a spot that you haven't smoothed it out yet, it's going to dry. And you're going to have a little ridge in the middle of where you don't want it. Okay, we need to do the foot. Right up against that wagon. All right, let's dry those, and then we're going to use that, whoops, got a little ridge there, that bubblegum pink. But I'm going to go inside the snout right quick, or his little muzzle, with some of that burnt umber. We need to shade his little muzzle around the inside. Okay, come a little bit darker. And let's come up on the other side. Not enough water in that one. I was just getting kind of a harsh line, so I need a little more water. If it just looks like you're painting just a line on here, and doesn't look kind of faded out for you, floating across, it doesn't look like it's floating, it just looks like it's painted, then you don't have enough water. If it's bleeding out in further than you want it to, then you've got too much water. That's the whole secret to shading, is learning how much water that you need. How much is not enough and how much is too much. Okay, and we're going to go on the inside of the ear. Put a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to go up and around. And across the bottom. I'm adding a little more to this one now that it's dry. And let's do the inside of the foot. And I think we're just about done with shading. And you're going, yay! Okay, so I think our shading is done. And we're going to do just a little bit of, well, I take that back. We've got to shade just a little bit with some pink. All right, so get just a little dab of that bubblegum pink. I mean, just a dot. We're going to come up right under his little snout and then in his ear. So right on the top of his little snout, top of the heart. We'll just, and you don't want much paint at all on it. Let's see, that looks like too much. You can also dry brush the little cheeks on. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come down just a little bit further with it, but I also want to go on the inside of the foot. And I'm going to really feather it out. Feathering it out means you just kind of walk it out and make it wider. Okay, so I'm going to take that off. That's one way you can do it, just on the inside of where we just floated, but now I want to show you also, where I have my brush over here, dry brushing with just a little stencil brush. Dry brushing means we're not going to put any liquid on it at all. So I got that brush loaded. But now I'm going to take most of it off. And we're just going to go on the inside. And just kind of take your finger and mash it down there. I mean, just kind of buff it out. And let's do the same thing up here with the cheeks. Just make it a little softer than just the float. Okay. That gave them some little cheeks. And let's go ahead. I've got enough on the tip of this that instead of floating around it, let's just dry brush some pink in there. Soften it up. You may need to go back over it with the shading a little bit. Okay, so there's what we've got. Now I'm going to get some more of that burnt umber because I wiped a little bit of that shading off on the cheek, and so I want to go back around and round it back off. Okay, now take your liner brush. We are just moving right along, I know. Oh, Sheila. Well, I hope you got some extra sleep, Sheila. I think your back probably needed it. All right, so let's take our liner brush or your smallest round, whichever you're using, and let's put some little ear hairs in there with that burnt umber. So I've just got my little liner loaded, and we're just going to flick some little hairs. So I'm just going to do like a V and then one in the center. So out to the left, out to the right, and then one in the center. Out to the left, out to the right, and a longer one in the center. And let's make some little toes. Or little claws, I guess you would say. So I'm just going to do 4. So I'm going to go with just some lines. Just 1, 2, 3. Let's just do, I'm doing 3. I think I put 4 on the other one, but I'm just going to do 3 on that one. Now this is not in your pattern, but I'm also going to do 3 here. 1, 2, 3. Just to give him some little claws. Okay, now then, we need to dry this really well, and we're going to lay our tracing paper pattern over it to get that face on. Again, if we tried to do it with our copy paper pattern, you can't see through it. So you can't see that you're getting it exactly on the spot that you need to get it on. But if you'll trace your pattern, the parts that you need, or you can go ahead and trace your whole pattern and just use tracing paper, not tissue paper, tracing paper. So now I've got it on here. We traced it earlier, and I can see exactly, because it is so see-through, I can see exactly where to lay my pattern. Okay, and I ended up making my little face, my head, a little bit larger, but everything still fits in proportion down here. So I'm going to lay it right there. I'm going to hold it very still. I don't want it sliding around, and I'm going to put that graphite paper under it. take my pencil and I'm going to put that little nose in. And we're going to draw the eyes on. I find it easier actually to just do the whole eye white and then come back in and put your little sections in. But we can do it section by section. Okay, eyelashes. I usually just freehand my eyelashes on. But it may be easier for you to just draw them. Okay, and there's the little face. Okay, so this is some tedious little work here, I know. So I'm going to go down to that liner brush. You're also going to need some of that Williamsburg blue. Oh, no, take that back. You're not going to need the blue. Unless you want to do the iris of your eye in the blue. This calls for it to be brown. So that burnt umber. So that's what we'll do that in. Okay, so let's start with the nose. A little heart. And again, you could do yours in the red. And then just go right down into the V of that snout. I know I keep saying snout, and I know the technical term for it is muzzle. Okay, so there's the little nose. Okay, so this very top section of the eye is black, so let's go ahead and do that. And look how far down I have my fingers. I know a lot of people go, how do you paint like that? And then when I see them with their hands way up here, I'm like, how do you control it? So it's just whatever is easiest for you. So it'll take practice and just figuring it out. So I'm going to offload some of my paint right there in the center. And then I'm going to outline it first. And then fill it in. And we'll outline the whole eye here in a minute with black. Okay, same thing over here. And then once we get this little bear done, we're going to do the flower pot. Because I can show you a couple of leaves to do, and then you'll know how to finish those if you need to. But we're doing pretty good. We haven't even been on an hour yet, just right at an hour. So we're doing pretty good. Make sure your black covers. Sometimes it needs a second coat. Okay, let's go ahead and do the eyebrows. So the eyebrows, I start at the center of the head and go back. That way the thickest part of it, if you're pressing down, is in the center of the head. And I do add just a little bit. I've got just a little drip of water on the tip of my brush. And I just let that water kind of fall in. You want it when you're doing lining work. You don't want it just dripping water to where it just bleeds everywhere when you put it down, but you do want it a little thinner when you're doing line work. Okay, so let's do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just following the pattern eyelashes. A lot of times I'll do a big one, a little one, a big one, a little one. But I'm trying to keep it like your pattern. Okay, got that one a little bit low. But that's how it is on the pattern. So we'll go with it. Okay. Now we're going to need that burnt umber. Right under that black that we just did. You're going to fill in that little section, round it off on the edges. We're giving him brown eyes. All right, dry that. Now you're going to need a little bit of white. Not much. Just a little dot. And we're going to fill in the bottom section and then do the dots of the eyes. If you don't have any tiny little liners, they're such a good investment. For these little detailed spots. This one that I'm using is a 10-0 Princeton liner. Princeton Velvet Touch. I got some at Hobby Lobby when I don't know if they still sell them. So many things they don't sell anymore. But I also found some on Amazon. I know some people use the fingernail art brushes because they've got such a tiny little bristle. Okay, so I'm going to use my Dippin' Dotty, and I'm going to put the little dots right up at the top left-hand side, not centered, kind of like he's looking up at the rabbit. You don't want it real big. Okay, and I'm going to need another coat on that white part of the eye. Okay, now we're going to dry that. And you don't want to hold it on those dots very long or they'll bubble up on you. Okay, so now we're going to take our black and outline the eyes, and we're going to do the mouth. I think I skipped a little part of highlighting the little belly, and we'll do that here in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to turn mine upside down. For me, that's a little easier to start at the bottom. Just make sure your paint's not too thick on your brush, and we're just going to outline the outside. And that really cleans it up. You can even put some little black lines in that brown part of the iris. Okay, so we've got our eyelashes. Now let's do a mouth. So you're just going to come right down from the bottom of that nose, bottom of that heart, that's the nose. And I'm going to do my smile lines up here in the cheek. And then make my mouth connect. I don't have much paint on my brush. Oh, I did that wrong. Did the mouth wrong. Okay, I'm going to dry that and go over the mouth. It would work, but I want to do two lines. So, I mean, that would definitely work. But I want it to have 2 lines. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, let me see if I can get that covered up. So don't panic if you goof up with it. It's just paint, and we can go back over and fix it. So I'm going to go right into that pink. And it'll take a couple of coats to get that black gone. Okay. Let's try this again. And I'm going to use a different brush because I put the other one in the water. So I'm just going to use a flat brush. Let's see if I can kind of get it swirled in here. I think we're saved by the bell. I just like on this one the different shaped mouth. A little drip of water there, too much. All right, now we're gonna do down from the nose, up. So there's the first half. Okay, and then we're gonna go down. So I can do it better upside down. A little bit too much water. Okay, I like that mouth better. All right, Mr. Bear's done. Okay, we're gonna move right on. Hi, Michelle. For the generic sign, how about playground this way with an arrow? Oh, that's a good idea too. Yes. Oh, Laura. Well, you can go back and watch the replays. I'm going to today, when we get off of here, I will be downloading them on my YouTube channel, Young at Heart Creations. And they will be there forever, but they'll be on this page. And I'm copying it over into our private page that was supposed to be private, but ended up not being private. They'll be here on Facebook for 30 days, but on YouTube, they'll be there for forever. Okay. Well, I say forever. You never know anymore. Okay, so let's go with, what did I tell you in your, okay, so we got the bear done. Woohoo, we're on page 3. So these are the instructions that the girls got. Now, I do want to tell you on the bear, 1, 2, 3, where it says highlight top of head and inside of belly. We didn't do that, so let's do that right quick with, see if I can get this little brush. With that pink. So I'm going to just go to my bigger brush here. Get most of it off on the paper towel. So we're going to just kind of just barely put a little bit of that pink on the top of his belly. Maybe a little bit on the top of his head. We're just dry brushing. Okay, we already got his cheeks. We got his foot. And I don't think we really need any on his arm, but mainly just his belly, wherever you think. If you want to put it on the arm, the instructions say on the forearm over here, you can definitely put some pink over there. And if you want to put a little bit here, just lightly, just to give him some highlights. Okay, there you go. Now he's got some highlights on. So we've done the bear. Now the flower pot. For your flower pot, you're going to need burnt sienna. If you don't have any burnt sienna, you can use terracotta or just anything that looks close to a clay pot. You could probably use, I think DecoArt has one that says clay. They also have terracotta. The pattern called for burnt sienna, so that's what we're going to do the flower pot with, and it's got some little bitty spaces. It's not going to take much, just a little bit. And I'm going to use my round, my smaller round brush. And I'm going to do the bottom part of it first. I'm not going to do the rim yet. We're going to do the bottom part, and then we're going to shade. So right here, the part that's sitting down in the wagon. Get it right up next to that red wagon color. And then go right underneath the rim or brim of the pot. And I'm loading my brush, but then I'm getting a lot of it off. Somebody's mowing outside. It's not Mr. Pan because he's at work. I know he wishes he was here mowing. He's with his yard like I am with my house. I don't like to go to bed at night if there's anything messy in the house. I like the dishes to be done, the kitchen to be clean, everything in its spot. And he's that way with the yard. Okay, let's let that dry just a second. And then we need to figure out where the little, you'll have to look really closely at your pattern to see where the spots are that the pot's going to show in between the flowers. Okay, so we've got a spot right. I'm not going to paint the rim yet, so don't paint the rim. A little, kind of a little triangle, it kind of circles around. Right up next to his foot. And this is the inside of the pot. Right here. Okay, and then there's a section right in between here. And you want to make sure the outside edge meets up so your pot looks round. Okay, just right to the top of that brim. Okay, and then we've got another little section, tiny little section, just right in between this leaf and the next leaf. It's just kind of a little triangle. And then we have a, probably not even worth putting in, but there's a little tiny, I mean just a dot almost on the other side. Let's dry that. And right now it just looks kind of funny. Put a second coat on them. Air conditioner's loud. Our flowers, we've had rain the last 3 or 4 days. Been really cloudy and rainy. And my flowers are starting to get droopy. They needed some sun, so I'm glad to see the sun out today. Okay, so we're going to take that burnt umber with whatever brush you've been shading with. And I'm not even drying that paint on the pot, and we're going to blend it out and come right up above the wagon. Okay, let's dry it just a little bit. It's not showing up. Okay, and dry that because we're going to go right under that brim. And if you don't dry that, it's just going to come right off. It's right under that brim. So dry it and put one more coat on it. And we're going to zippity-doo-dah with these plants in the road. Okay, so let's dry that, and we're going to put right along the sides. Of the pot. Something on the, there we go. Okay, and then the outside edge, or the inside of those outside edges. And that little bitty one right there is not worth doing anything to. Okay, now we're going to do the brim. So go back to that little round brush in the terracotta, or burnt sienna. I use terracotta a lot too. Cover up those pattern lines, those graphite lines. Okay, dry that. Yeah, let's go in with a second coat. And it's optional for you if you want to just leave the brim like it is and not shade it in the burnt umber. I kind of like it that way because it gives a little more contrast. Got one little corner you don't want any blue showing. You don't want the background showing, so it needs to go right up to his foot. Okay, and that's what it should look like. Okay, now we're going to need some Hauser dark green. Now you can also take a little bit lighter color of that and do some highlights in here if you want to. Add a little bit of white to whatever base color you're using. That's a detail that's optional. I will probably go in and do it afterwards, but just to save time. But I would just maybe highlight a little bit around here and maybe right here on this side with just a little bit of lighter color. Let's see if I have enough white. I may have enough white to go ahead and do it. Okay, so I'm going to mix a little bit of white. Just a little bit right on my brush. I'm going to get most of it off. And just right on the side, I'm going to come and just make some little lines. And then right up here, I don't know if you can see that, but right here, I just put some little highlights right there. I just mixed a tiny bit of white with a little dot of that burnt sienna to lighten it up and just gave it a little bit of highlight there on the side. Okay, so now we're going to start with the dark Hauser. And I'm going to switch to a different palette over here. That one's got a lot of wet spots in it, so I'm going to switch to one that's dry. Okay, so let's put out some dark Hauser. Okay, we did the flowers already, so those are done. Okay, so we're going to do dark Hauser and light Hauser. So dark and light, because we really want it to contrast. So dark and light. You could even go lighter with like an Irish moss or citron green, lime green would work. And let's take that round brush that I was just using. Well, let's first take our liner brush and let's get our stems on. So the stems I'm going to do in the dark Hauser, and we may come back because the stems are really tiny. I mean, they're really skinny. So we'll do that, and then if we want to come back and highlight them, we can. I'm going to start from the bottom and work and go up with the stems. So you just have to want each little heart should have a stem to it. So just go right over that graphite line. Okay, there's another heart. Now these little brushes run out of paint. So you could use a longer liner brush and you wouldn't run out of paint so quick. But I just had this one laying here, so that's the one we're going with. And remember, you can take a pencil if you have any graphite lines that are still showing that you didn't want to show, and erase them once your paint's dry. Okay, so that one had 4 flowers, so I've got 4 stems. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over and do the other ones. You can do the same thing on all of them. Right up to that heart. Don't forget the one on the wheel that goes over the wheel. I got a little bit of green up in that flower. You don't want to do that up in the heart, so I wiped it off. Okay, we've got one down here. Let's do the flower pot. Okay. Looks like I missed a heart. Which heart did I miss? Okay, I missed a heart right here, but I'm going to go ahead and do the, should be 3 hearts coming out of the pot. So there's one coming right up behind, in between these two. And I'll put the heart on later. I'll go back and fix that. Okay, so we've got one that comes down this way. And right down in the pot there. Now, while you've got that white and whatever color you use for your flower pot mixed up, I'm going to mix a little more here. You could also, just on the inside, make some little of the white marks also to make it look like it's shining a little bit in there. Okay, we've got 2 more stems to do. Some of the stems are behind the leaves. Oh, we got that one. Okay, I think that's it on the stems. Let's dry that and let's do our leaves. Okay, so for our leaves, I'm going to take my little round brush. I'm going to put dark green on one side and that light green right out to the edge of the paint. So I've got light green and dark green, both. I'm going to put the dark green down, and that's called double loading. And we'll get a little bit of a variation of color. So you've automatically got your highlight and your shading in there. And I'll come back on the leaves, on the stems, and put a little bit of this light green also, just as highlights, and I may thicken the stems up a little bit. So I'm going back on the same side, putting that 2 different colors on. And I'm starting with the dark on the bottom. Got to go around that flower. Just kind of blending your paint as you go with those 2 colors. No 2 leaves are going to be exactly the same. Go around that heart and then just kind of thin it out. I added just a little more of that light green. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on each leaf. Now you could start with the light on the bottom this time. Okay, let's come in with a little more dark on this underside. There we go. Okay, now we've got a leaf over here. And that stem is in front of it, so you want to go around that stem. And if you end up getting just one solid color, just dip back in a little bit and add some more of that light or dark, whichever you need. Okay, there is a little stem that comes out just by itself without a flower on it. And I ended up with 4 hearts on this one. The first one I did only had 3. I didn't have that one, I just had the 3. So if you want to add some flowers or take some flowers away, that is just fun. Okay, so there's that one. Now let's just quickly go over here and do these others. I'm going to get this one right down here at the bottom. Some are going to be lighter than the others, some darker. But I like that. I don't like them all the same. And once we do these leaves, then we're going to do the road. Okay, behind this one. So put a little more dark in it. And you can come back and touch up your stems if you get over the stem a little bit. You can do your leaves first and then come back and do your flowers, whatever works best for you. But I'll come up and touch that little stem up a little bit. And I want to see both colors in there. But see how fast it is when you double load like that? Okay, now the flower pot. And if you mash down a little harder, you'll get some of that paint that's on the top of your brush a little more. Okay, this one goes over that one. And I'm lifting up when I get up to the top to that point. I just love how they all look different. Okay, this one's behind. I got a little bit too much paint. Be careful not to paint over where you've got the pot in there. Okay, now I'll need to go back over that stem just a little bit because I got some paint on it. I'm adding a little more of the dark. There's a little bitty tiny little speck of the burnt sienna pot there on in between that one, this one right here that's pointing down. Adding a little more of that light in there. And you're going to get some of each color because you're dipping back and forth. So it'll mix your paint a little bit. Okay, now let's do this one. That one turned out pretty. You may have to come back and clean up your edges a little bit. I'm going to add just a tad more of that yellow over here. Or that light green, not really yellow. Okay, and then let's do, and again, I've got to come back and put my flower here. I forgot to put the little heart on that one. So let's get our leaves done over here, and the road will be very quick. Lift up, so I'm pressing down and lifting up. Pressing down and lifting up. I'm going to make this leaf come right up over that wheel. Okay, and that's our leaves. And again, you can go back and add some more highlights or a little bit of dark where you want it, if you think it needs it. Oops, there we go. Had you up too far. And that's how quick loading that, double loading it like that does for you. Okay, now we got to do the road. And I'm just going to grab a, let's see what brush I want. Okay, I'm just going to use this old, it's flat brush. We're going to use some of that Fawn or Toffee, the lighter tan. Won't take a lot. And then we're going to use some of that burnt umber. Oops, it's not burnt umber. And we'll come back with a little bit of white. Okay, I'm not going to put any water on. I don't think I like that one. That one's a little bit too long. Here's one that's a little shorter. Okay, so number 10, plaid. Okay, and I'm going to get my brush wet, but then I've got a towel down here in my lap that I always keep in my lap. Thank you, Erica Wallace, for the towel. We got it at one of her events. Okay, and so what we're going to do, we're just going to we're going to take the Fawn first, and just about 1/4 of the way up, load it with Fawn, kind of dab some of it off, and we're just going to kind of eyeball it, and we're going to go straight up and down with our brush, right on the chisel. Not going to lay it down. We're going to go straight up and down, and we're just going to, let's go ahead and, like we did our leaves, let's go ahead and add some of that burnt sienna. Not burnt sienna. Burnt umber. So we've got both on our brush. That'll save us some time. Okay, and we're just going to go right along, and we're just going to go back and forth. Just back and forth, just to make it look like a little path. Go up in between the wheels a little bit, but don't get it on the wheels. Go all the way down. You're going to have to reload. So I've got both colors on there. I'm going to dab a little bit of that off. That was a little bit too much. Let's go up here around the flower and the post. Just kind of around that flower, down at the bottom of that flower. On that chisel edge, just get as close to the rabbit as you can, but don't get it on the rabbit. Okay, we can even come up. Okay, I'm going to reload. Under the bunny's feet. Get up into that corner. If you're losing one of the colors, just add a little bit back on. So I'm putting a little more brown in there. doing it upside down now. Let me kind of see where I'm at. So I'm going to come up a little more. Down closer to the frame. I'm going to get down, I'm just kind of dabbing it down into the behind the flower. Just want it to kind of look streaky. And I've got a couple spots on the wheel that I'll need to go touch up a little bit, but that's okay. I'm coming in with a little more brown now. And it might be better to do the road first before you actually paint the flowers on. And then if you want the road to be behind the flowers, you can just paint over where you did the road without having to worry about getting it on your flowers. But it just gives the illusion that they're on that path. You could even paint some little rocks. Okay, now we're going to come back with, let's just use the smallest. Well, let's just use that brush that we were using. Let me wipe it off. I just put it in the water. And let's just come in with a little bit of white. I think I still had some white on this one. Yeah. So we're going to put it on, but we're going to get most of it off. Get you a chisel edge. Very lightly. Just put some of that white to highlight in there. And if you need to, you can come back over it with some of the brown. Okay, let me show you what we've got. Okay, can you see that road? Thank you, Sherry. You have no idea how much that means to me. Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I hope they're understanding what I'm doing. Don't miss showing them something. But look how easy this background was. And this is so pretty to do also with a sea sponge. And you get a different technique with the colors. And you can do it with any colors. It doesn't matter, you know, what colors you use. But there's your little ground. And how easy. If you just walk by and look at that, you would think, oh, I could never paint that road. Look how quickly we did that using one brush and 3 colors. Now you could, just some little tidbits, you could put a little red bird or bluebird or something. You could paint a bird sitting on the sign. You could put a butterfly up here in this little kind of blank area, or bumblebee, or, you know, there's just so many things you can add to it. And like I said, you could put hearts on the edges, right here on the corners. You could put big pretty buttons on there. I will probably do something like that. You could also use your little floral Dippin' Dotty and put some little red and white or whatever color that you wanted to, but to look like hearts. If you wanted to do that, you could put the hearts here on the corners and put a Dippin' Dotty in the center of it. There's so many things you could do to decorate the outside of your frame. You could just take and put some little flowers up the side, some more heart flowers up the side here, to put some greenery and stuff on that. So I may play with it some more. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with that. Now, to seal it, I use, since this is just going to be inside, you could do it with Mod Podge or whatever you wanted to. I have a spray sealer that I use, and it's, let me think, Minwax. Minwax let me grab it. It's right here because it's water-based. That's the main thing you want to make sure of, is that you get a water-based sealer. But this one is very expensive. You could also get Krylon or Rust-Oleum. Just make sure it says non-yellowing. But I have found this one, it never, ever, ever yellows for me. And I used to do a lot of little girls' white furniture with details on it, and I used so many products and they yellowed. And I lost money on the products that I did because after a few weeks, it started yellowing. This does not yellow. Now it's $17.99 a can. So on certain projects, if it's not white, I will use the Krylon or the Rust-Oleum. Those work great, and they're like $6.99 a can, I think. So I use that for the backs and the sides. And if it's something like this, I'll use it on there. But if I'm painting something white, I'm just scared not to use this. So, but anyway, and it goes a long way for me because I only use it on the white surfaces and things that are gonna have white on it. Now, this will stand by itself. Now, my little things here aren't even that I'm sitting it on, but it will sit by itself. You can put it, I've got a real pretty easel that I've got mine in. So you could put it on an easel, or you could put a hanger. However you put a hanger on the back. I usually use jute. And when I do it, I have little wooden hearts that I glue on first. Then I staple the jute or ribbon, whatever I'm using, onto those little hearts. And that helps keep it from going through the other side. Now, you've got the back here. You could paint something on the back of it if you wanted a double-sided painting. So you could do that as well. So let me pull you up here. Thank you, Vicki, so much. Thank you. I see so many doing wonderful lives, and they know all that technical things to get your private group working, and why mine isn't working, I don't know. And so it's easy to doubt yourself and to, to think, okay, do I even need to be doing this? Are they learning anything? They watch all of those professional ones that are so wonderful at it. And it is easy, but I've just decided, you girls keep coming back, and there must be something that you're getting out of it, or you wouldn't keep coming back. And I enjoy it so much. And, there's so much I don't still know, and I still want to learn myself. But okay, before we run out of time, let me get my computer, and let's do the spin the wheel of names to see who wins the set of Dippin' Dotties. Now, they won't be out until June the 26th. He's making them. But when I do the sale, remember, whoever wins, don't purchase any unless you want extra sets, because you'll get a free set. I've got my computer right here. Let me grab it. So let this dry it really well. Make sure that there's not anything else you want to change on yours. And there will be some more things that I'm going to add to this one. But be sure and seal it. But make any changes before you seal it. Okay, so I've got my laptop here. Let's get that pulled up with the wheel of names and see who the lucky winner is. Now, only the ladies that paid for the class, for the workshop have their name on the wheel. All right, so, and this is the wheel of names is free. It's just a website that you go to and enter names, and it's Wheel of Names. And this is what it looks like. And I've got all the names in there that signed up for this course. And you add the names, you clear it out if you're wanting to put a new set of names in there. And we just spin it. To spin it, you click on it, and it's going to spin. Who is that? Sybil Niece. Sybil, Miss Sybil, you are the winner. Congratulations, Miss Sybil. All right, so Miss Sybil, I will put your name down on my order list for the sale that will be coming up on June the 26th. I'm not positive I have your address, so go ahead and email me your mailing address, and I will put an order form in the list. Now, it won't come out until after June the 26th because I don't have the sets yet. This was just a prototype set that I had. So you'll be getting the Dippin' Dottie hat, witch's hat, little pumpkin, and the ghost set. So congratulations. Thank you guys so much. Now, please, just because this workshop has ended does not mean that you can't send me a message in Messenger or send me an email if you have any questions at all. And I'm going to give you a couple of weeks to get yours done because I know a lot of you haven't even started them yet. But then I want, once we get, I give you a couple of weeks, I want everybody to post theirs on the same day, and we will just have a parade of the finished products. So please, if you have any questions at all, don't forget that you are always welcome to email me or send me a message in Messenger asking me something about what you're doing on the painting, or could I do this, or what did you say about this? I don't want to go back and replay the whole thing. What did you say? So please feel free to do that. I'm always here for you. If I don't answer right away, it's because I'm busy with something, but I will get to it. So congratulations, Sybil, and I will go in there right now and download these tutorials to YouTube so that they will be there, but they're also going to be here on this page and then in that Penny's Lane workshop page for 30 days. Facebook leaves them for 30 days, 30, 31, I don't know, but at least 30 days they'll be on there. But thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I learned something each time I do this with you guys, and I get a little more comfortable each time that I do it. So the next thing coming up will be the Dippin' Dottie sale on June the 26th. And then I will post the other things. Let's see what else we've got coming up. So we've got the Dippin' Dottie sale on the 26th. And then okay, so I'm not sure about July yet. We don't have anything in July. I will announce some things in July, but then mark your calendars if you're close enough for August the 1st. August the 1st will be an in-person paint party to paint the Mrs. Claus. And I haven't gotten her painted yet. I've got to get busy and paint her. We did Mr. Claus last year. So this year is on August the 1st from 11 to 4. Lunch will be included, and I will give more details about that once I start announcing that. But mark your calendars. That's going to be Saturday, August the 1st from 11 to 4, and that's at the Mariachi's restaurant where we had it last year. And their food is wonderful, by the way. That's where we had it last year, but I've still got to figure up all the costs and everything, what they're going to charge me for all that so that I can get the cost to you on that. But we have so much fun when we do it in person. And everybody loved the Mr. Claus, so they can't wait to do the Mrs. Claus. So thank you so much for all your sweet, sweet comments and for being here. And you mean the world to me. Have a wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day. You are so very welcome. And I'm still learning how to do these workshops and what works, what time works, and trying to keep the costs down. And I know these other ladies do some of them a lot less than what I do. I don't know how they do them for the amount sometimes that they do, unless they just buy so much in bulk that they get a lot better prices on the things. So I'm not sure, but I try to keep your prices down as low as I can and still make a little bit of a profit because it is a business. All right, ladies, love you so much. And gentlemen, if you're on here too, but have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Tomorrow is worship day, first day of the week. I always love our worship days. We have worship on Sundays and Wednesdays, and I can't wait to be with my church family and worship our amazing God. And may He bless each one of you. All right, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.